Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Loudguns and today we're going to be taking a look at the Siege of Orison. I'm really loving this dynamic event because truth be told it's one of the first times StarCit started to feel like a real MMO for me, with a proper raid involved. The added bonus is it's not an event you need a fancy ship or lots of sunk cash to get involved with, and at 380k per completion it's a great way for newer players and those recovering after the wipe to start building their bank balance up. If you're thinking of jumping in, be sure to use a referral code to boost your cash up a bit for those first guns. Mine's up on screen, but really just use anyone's. I've been trying to keep intros a bit more concise, but just before we get into it I do have one housekeeping point. I've been off for the last couple of weeks because we've had my mother-in-law staying with us. Not usually cause to announce in a YouTube vid, but my wife is originally from eastern Ukraine, and it's thanks in large part to the support of this community that we've been able to bring her mum over to the UK. So before we get on with the show, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for that. It's hard to find a good segue from that, but community is also fantastic when it comes to Siege of Orison. I had some fun just figuring this out with a few friends, but at the time of recording I've just finished running 2 full runs with the Frontier community. And this is where the event felt truly awesome, getting together in a big group and hitting this event together. If you're keen to get involved and try out bigger group ups for these sorts of events, please come say hi on Discord, link's just down in the video description down below. The Siege of Orison is an FPS focused event, where the Cloud City of Orison on Crusader has come under attack by the Ninetales gang. You and your friends are going to have to push your way across a total of 4 platforms to return them to Crusader control. You'll find your mission in your priority tab within the contract manager. Accept this and then head to the rooftop of the Crusader Industries showroom at Orison's CloudView Center platform. While you're getting the mission, also take a call to arms. The first 3 platforms, Solanki, Brushwood and Heartmoor, are accessed by shuttle. So you arrive first at Solanki on the shuttle from the roof of the Crusader Industries showroom, where the event begins. And then from Solanki you can call a shuttle to Brushwood, and from Brushwood you can head to Heartmoor. Note that all of the shuttles after the first one aren't automatic, and you'll have to call them and send them manually, much like elevators. When you get further into the event, you'll be able to activate a shuttle between Heartmoor and Solanki, and this will just help people who've fallen behind or had to respawn catch up a bit quicker. Before you get going, make sure that you have set your respawn location at Orison General Hospital, because you don't want to be dying and then finding that you're halfway across the verse. Each of the platforms has a Ninetales lieutenant who you'll need to track down and deal with. They're a bit tougher than your average bad guy, usually wearing some nicer armour, and they carry some rarer guns. If you select Open from the interaction menu on their main core, then you'll be able to find a data slate which you'll need to drag across to your own inventory. This will give you the code for various containers which are strewn around each platform. The majority of these containers will contain a range of guns, ammunition and medical supplies, but one on each platform will contain a device that's overriding the IFFI, or IFI. Until you find this, all of the anti-aircraft weapons on the platform will be on the Ninetales side, so if you try and take off in any of the ships, then you're going to get shot down pretty quickly. Disabling this device will reverse control back to Crusader and allow you to take off in the ships. This comes in particularly handy when assaulting the 4th and final platform, the admin center, as this one can only be reached by air. The anti-aircraft weapons are going to be active on this platform, so you're going to have to brave the AA fire, missiles and some Ninetales ships in order to land and defeat the 4th lieutenant. After he's watched you knock off 4 of his finest, for some reason the head honcho Mando Ren is therefore enticed out of hiding, and you'll be able to head through the docking port of the admin center onto the cargo barge where, amongst the crates, he'll be waiting for you. A final code off Mando Ren will allow you to unlock these containers on the admin center, and one of these will contain one of the devices which you can disable to complete the mission. The last bit amongst the cargo boxes is a maze, and I debated pretty hard with myself over whether or not to include the full walkthrough. I know some people will want that info while others will want to save it to work out themselves. So at the very end of this video, after the outro, I've included the way through it, but please feel free to switch off if you just don't want to spoil it for yourself. So let's take a look at getting equipped. I'd recommend some armour with a backpack. You can get the yellow and the blue aerial versions at Orison itself, just on the Providence platform. I'm going with my orange one because it's fancy. You could also just loot all of this stuff. I would not loot the Ninetales armor. If you get friendly fire dressed up like a bad guy, then my sympathy just doesn't extend to you. I would also recommend taking at least one weapon. I've grabbed myself a P4. So Orison itself is pretty shabby for a selection of weapons, so you would have to come up to some of the stations to get more than a shotgun or a pistol. Another good addition is a silencer, so the enemies are attracted by noise, so if you want to avoid getting swarmed during the event, a suppressor is really good. Once again, the name Loud Guns is ironic. So strap yourself with some of the ammunition for whichever gun you've decided. And just also make sure you take some of that in your backpack. You can find all of this in ammo crates around the map, but I personally find sort of stopping and searching through these just for the ammo for my gun a bit of faff, particularly considering how cheap ammunition itself is. As well as some spare mags for my P4, I've also bought myself some FS9 ammo. So I'm not going to take an FS9 with me, but I know that I can find these fairly reliably, so if I want to pick up as a second weapon, it's good to have a few extra mags for it rather than having to find those too. If you want to be a proper scout about things, make sure you also grab a medical gun and strap that to your hip. That'll help you just getting up your friends if they fall down. And a multi-tool with a tractor beam attachment can also be good for your other utility slot. You'll also find medical supply crates which have things like the green goo for the medical gun, but I'd just take a stack of this with me, just so I don't depend on finding those in the heat of battle. Finally, I'd also look at grabbing some Resurgera or detox pens. So these will help if you have to take a lot of the drugs to keep yourself going, particularly useful if you've picked up some injuries and you're using the medgun's advanced feature to mask them. So the event itself is fairly straightforward, as long as you know roughly where you're going, but there are a few hot tips we can give you having run this event a few times now. As ever, a big thanks to the members of the Frontier community who are really great at sharing that experience and help make compiling this all a lot easier. So the first one is don't go alone if you can help it. Any event with an FPS element can easily result in you ending up downed, and if your solo people have been good at getting others up, but nothing beats having a mate or two, or even 3 around you. The optimal squad size we've found for this event is 4. And 4's the magic number because elevator protocol is a thing during this mission. Positional desync doesn't only exist in space, so if you choose to play clown cars with the elevators, you can easily end up effectively rugby tackling your friends. 4, potentially 5 if you're feeling frisky, fit in an elevator. Walk to get in it, don't sprint, and if an elevator is full, let the squad ahead of you go first. When you're in with your squad, the 2 at the front should kneel down while the 2 at the back stand, and this will allow everybody to open up if, as often happens, there's a bad guy directly across from you when the elevator doors open. Crouching people stay crouching as you exit the elevator, and that will give you a best chance at maintaining firing lines. Next up is safety first, so when you get a downed friend, it can be really tempting to rush straight out and get them up. But just remember that airline safety standard of fitting your own mask before helping a child. Spawn closets are dotted all over the map, and the bad guys are going to keep coming, so take a second to make sure you've dealt with the threat before getting Bambi back up. If you brought that multi-tool and tractor beam with you, this can be used to move a downed player out from a dangerous open spot into cover where resin can be a lot safer. If you do pick up injuries along the way, you can always hit the gym. The gyms are dotted around on each of the platforms and contain a tier 3 medical bed. This will let you heal up and treat minor tier 3 injuries. Also helps to refill your thirst and hunger meters. Don't worry too much about grabbing food and drink though, since it's also plentiful in various loot crates. So don't get your hopes up about maps. A mini-map would be really useful for this event, but we haven't got one just yet. But what you will find dotted around are these maps of the platforms, which include a guide to your location with that little red dot there. So getting to the final platform, the admin center, is the hardest part of the mission. The air defences are still active, so you'll have to make an aerial assault while under fire. While there are a number of heavy ships like the Hercules A2s dotted around complete with ground vehicles on board such as Cyclones and Nova tanks, Our favourite option so far is the Humble Anvil by Seas. If you want to take the safest possible approach, we would recommend try a land here, next to the Technology Support Services building, down amongst the crates. Just be sure to get out of your ship and clear so you don't get caught up in the explosion though. Keep in mind that the ships that you have at your disposal are a finite resource, and you can't bring ships in from outside of the AO. So when they're gone, they're really gone, and so are your options for reaching the final platform. Don't try and take off in one of the ships when the air defences on your current platform are still active. I've personally only seen this end one way, and I'm including some footage of one of my less glorious moments so that you can learn from my mistakes rather than having to make similar ones yourselves. I hate to admit this, but in this instance the captain certainly did not go down with the ship. So don't waste the ships for your whole team, and in fact the whole server, trying to do this. There are ships on every platform, so just make sure the IFI is down before attempting to take off. And once again, I'm sorry to the guys I left behind. I've included this final one for other orgs and communities who are out there looking to get the most fun out of a slick operation. If you're operating as an org, it can be really fun to push your team working in coordination by spreading out and hitting multiple targets at once. We just finished an awesome run where we focused Solanke platform first with all 6 of our squads, taking out the lieutenant and dispersing so that we could find the IFI device ASAP. When the IFI was reversed, Alpha and Bravo squads boarded Pisces and began the run straight for the admin centre. And by giving the other platforms a wide berth, we were able to avoid the AA fire from their still active defences. While we landed on the admin centre early on, Charlie and Delta cleared Brushwood, and Echo and Fox went on ahead of them to deal with the lieutenant on Heartmoor. We managed to get it down to a 50-minute run, while still being within the spirit of the event. So hopefully this was a useful guide for the event. As ever, there's a bit of drama going on in SC over how much money we didn't have, then did have, then didn't have again. But personally, I once again don't really care. Money comes and goes, and the only thing that's certain is that we won't take any of it with us into the live game anyway. To me, the reason to really play SE now is to enjoy experiencing the game, make friends and develop your skills. And Siege of Orison is just hands down some of the most fun I've had so far in Star Citizen. But let me know what you think. Have you been enjoying the event, on your own or with your org? Or is this just not your bag and you're hoping for something a bit different in the future? A comment will also get you entered into our monthly giveaway, which this month is for an Origin 315p, courtesy of a very kind soul in the Frontier community. If you think I've earned it, please consider hitting the all-important like and subscribe buttons, and if you'd like to go that one step further in supporting the channel, we do have a Patreon. For the next month or so, videos might be a bit sporadic, given real life stuff going on, but I've always said that will come first. I've got a couple of days to myself, so I might try and stack up some content, but if it does go dry at any point, don't worry, I'll be back soon enough. If you want to stick around for it, the segment with the walkthrough of the maze is coming up, but if not, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. So last chance to look away, if you don't want any spoilers, but I assume that if you're still here, you want to know your way around the maze. Which I don't blame you for, because if I hadn't had Major Talk Imbalance leading the way, I would have been totally lost. There was a bit of lag on the go on the server at this point, so I'm going to use that as my excuse for missing the occasional jump and shooting Major Talk Imbalance in the back there. But thankfully his backpack took the brunt of that, so hopefully when he sees that in the footage he won't be too mad at me. So when you come out of the docking port, you're going to make your way into the cargo containers, which really make up the maze. After the first little tunnel, just drop down there, and just be really careful going through here. There's lots of bad guys who my friends dealt with while I did practically nothing during this part of the event. I was mostly focusing on just trying to keep up with Major. Head up this jump, so all of these things can just be mantled up, if you're competent, which it appears I'm not in this instance. Once you come out of that hatchway, to your right there's another bit that you need to go up. You can jump some of these jumps if you holster your weapon by holding R, but for the most part you can just mantle up anyway. Drop down, and to the left you want to just mantle up this bit, and take the right hand turn. Once you've dealt with the bad guys, you're going to drop down into this next room. And don't go through there, jump up over it. See, I was trying to help. I just don't think I was quick enough to actually get myself any kills. Once you've had a quick break to refill your magazines, then drop down and jump back up over here. Head in through this crate and take the left-hand turn. You go up through this shipping container. And take the left-hand turn and follow these containers round. Then drop down. And drop down again. Crouch to get under this bit. And follow this pathway round. We did take a wrong turn, so I had to do a bit of editing to make sure that we just jumped up that bit there. And now this is where you will have a jump where you'll have to holster your weapon. Which I totally made first time. Much like I passed my driving test first time. But actually I just wanted to do that so you could see that there's a route to just get yourself back round. So if you need to have a second go at this jump, you can do it. So once you make it to the other side, you'll just head down that corridor once you've finished restocking your ammo. And Mando Ren's going to be waiting for you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.